Happy New Year! At the end of my most recent progress report video, I displayed a checklist of the last remaining features that need to be in the game before I'll be ready to implement the first rival. However, when I wrote this list, I forgot a few things. For the past few months, I've been going down this list and completing those tasks. Let me give you an example. If the police arrive at school, the player needs to know the results of the police investigation. For a long time, I conveyed this information using text on a black background. However, I've always wanted this sequence to have visuals, instead of just words. Around 2 months ago, I finally got around to it, and now the police investigation sequence has 3D models and animations. These visuals are very simple, but it's still a lot better than plain text. I didn't think that this feature was worthy of a progress report video because there's not really very much to say about it. Most of the other things that I accomplished over the past few months were similar in nature. I've always thought that there was too much empty space in the school, so I shrank it. It always bothered me that every character in the game had the same face, so I added more variety. From now on, whenever the police identify a corpse, the school will hold a memorial service for the dead student on the subsequent day. I made tons of changes and additions and improvements to the game, but none of them would be able to carry a whole video. In December, I decided that my goal should be to implement something that I could easily make an entire video about. Way back in 2016, I expressed a desire to replace Yandere Simulator's inventory system. I considered a ring-shaped inventory like the one from Hitman 2016, or a grid-based inventory similar to the one from Resident Evil 4. In December, I began prototyping a grid-based inventory. I made a lot of progress, but during the process, I realized that limiting the player's inventory space would impact the design of the game in more ways than I initially thought. After a lot of consideration, I eventually decided that it would be a bad addition to the game, so I abandoned it. Sometimes you gotta go through the trouble of prototyping a system in order to gain the insight necessary to determine whether it's a good idea or a bad idea. Next, I decided to look up the information I would need in order to implement a saving and loading system. This was something that I had absolutely no experience with, so it was completely new territory for me. I spent a lot of time researching and investigating how other Unity developers were handling their saving and loading operations. In short, it's way more complicated than you might think. If you're curious to hear more, I wrote a blog post detailing everything I learned. During my research, it became clear that it would be unwise to develop a saving system while so many aspects of the game are still changing on a daily basis. If I implement a save system now, I'd have to constantly update it every time I add or change something in the game. I realized that I should postpone the save system until after Osana has been implemented. However, I still wanted to test the knowledge that I had gained. I wanted to confirm that I could record the state of a student and return the student to that state. So I developed the foundation for a save system. In the latest build of the game, it is now possible to save and load while at school. And it's also possible to create different profiles at the title screen. As of now, the save system only records the state of students and nothing else. But now that I've confirmed it's possible to save and reload this type of data, I feel very confident that I'll be able to implement a proper save system in the future. Yandere Simulator has been running on an outdated version of the Unity engine for a long time now. The latest version has better performance. That means the loading times are shorter and the frame rate is higher. I took the time to upgrade to the latest version of Unity, and I saw a huge jump in performance. But unfortunately, the new engine has crash bugs. Because of the crashes, it was simply not worth it to use the latest version of Unity. So I reverted back to the previous version, and I won't upgrade again until those crash bugs are fixed. To recap, I spent time on a new inventory system, but scrapped it. I spent time investigating how to build a save system, but decided to postpone it until the game is no longer changing. I spent time upgrading the game engine, but I had to revert back to the old version because of crash bugs. When I look back on the month of December, it feels like a month where absolutely nothing went right. I would compare it to running on a treadmill. You're working really hard, but you're not actually moving forward. I do think that the insight I gained from each of these experiences was incredibly valuable, but I still feel as though I'm coming to you empty-handed, which is an awful feeling. It's simply a reality of game development that sometimes you have to dedicate a lot of time to prototyping or research or experimentation, and although you'll gain something from it, you won't necessarily produce anything that lets you make a cool video. The next features I'm going to work on are important for the game, but they probably couldn't carry a whole video. This means that even though I'm constantly going to be making progress and putting new features in the game, you won't necessarily see me upload videos about what I'm accomplishing. If you're curious to know what I've been working on, you don't have to wait for a video. You can always visit my development blog at yandere-dev.wordpress.com. I update the blog every few days, way more frequently than my YouTube channel. Although I won't always have enough material to make a progress report video, I don't want to let my YouTube channel stagnate. I love making videos, and if possible, I'd like to release 2 videos per month, even if they're just for fun. There are a lot of subjects I'd like to make videos about. I'd like to make a video about the history of Yandere Simulator and tell the story of the game's development from beginning until present day. I'd like to make a cautionary video about the top 10 biggest mistakes I think I made while developing the game. Before I began developing Yandere Simulator, I made a ton of other game prototypes, and I think it might be fun to make a video where I show off some of my early work. I've come up with ideas for rivals that could be added to Yandere Simulator as DLC, after the game is finished, of course, and I'd like to make a video where I describe those rivals. In my Let's Examine Persona video, I mentioned that Yandere Simulator was inspired by 3 games: Hitman, Persona, and a mystery game that I didn't name. It's been over a year since the last time I released a Let's Examine video, and I'd absolutely love to make a video about that 3rd game, because it's an obscure game that not many people have heard of, and I'd really enjoy talking about it. I have countless ideas for videos I'm very eager to make, but each video would take a couple of days away from development. Would you be okay with that, or would it bother you? I'll put a poll in the video description so you can let me know if you'd be alright with that or if you want me to stick exclusively to development. Well, I've covered every subject that I wanted to talk about, so I'm going to end the video here and get back to work. Thank you for following the development of Yandere Simulator.